How many XRP do you need to become a millionaire? Well, the number is actually a lot less than you think. In today's video, we're going to talk about the XRP rich list. And does it make sense to be buying XRP right now, or does it make sense to be buying other altcoins or altcoins in general with the whole market pulling back? So in this video, we have to discuss what's happening to the altcoin market, what's happening to Bitcoin, and are there better opportunities out there than XRP, or is it still smart to be stacking XRP if you want to become the first millionaire in your family tree? So you're going to love this video. As always, comment 777 if you're feeling blessed. If you're feeling bullish, let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So we just launched our free Discord server. We have about 463 people in this group. If I refresh the page, looks like we have 495. By the end of today's video, I want to pass 1,000 members. And the reason why you should join this group right now through the link in the description below is because we're going to be posting some trade ideas for you guys. For example, this one right here on Polygon when it was at about 28 cents. Had you been in this group, you could have caught this short and made a lot of money on this move down. And again, this is not financial advice. We're not telling you to buy or sell anything. We're just showing you what's happening on the price charts. So these videos are purely for educational, informational purposes only, but I just made a post in here for what's to happen next, and it's free to join. So go check it out, connect and network with other people in our community, because our goal is to help you grow and make a lot of money the rest of this bull run. And also, for those of you guys that want to educate yourself on a self-learning basis, you can join Altcoin Pro, go through the Technical Analysis Essentials course. I believe it's 28 plus videos teaching you everything you need to know. But in today's video, what we need to talk about is XRP and how much it would take to become a millionaire. Because if we look at the percentage of accounts with a balance starting at just 2,487 XRP, that's about 10% of holders. And there's roughly 664,000 holders. As we get up to 5%, it's 8,750 XRP. The 1%, the top 1% to join would need over 50,000 XRP. And if you want to become a part of the top 0.1%, that's 369,000 XRP. Now, the real question everyone wants to know is how much XRP should they hold? Well, that's kind of a loaded gun question because it depends on your entire portfolio size, your risk tolerance, and ultimately your goals and your age. Because some people watch our videos that have tens of millions of dollars and some people are on their first $100 in the crypto market. So my answer would just be keep backing up the truck because you can never hold enough. But when we look at XRP's price chart, the next question would be, is now a good time to buy? Should you wait or should you back up the truck for this dip? And then before we get into how many XRP you need to become a millionaire, let's first talk about what's happening right now on the XRP price chart. Because if we look on the daily chart, you can see the XRP has been in a downtrend since the 18th of July, forming lower highs. And right now we're at a very key support right here that we bounced off of between the 2nd and 3rd of August. And if we are to break below this support, the next stop to the downside is what I mentioned in my previous videos. It's roughly right between $2.65 to $2.55 within this range. And so how you accumulate at better price points is not necessarily buying on the way down, because had you have done that during the bear market, I mean, you would have just kept buying on the way down, getting absolutely wrecked for the bear market bottom, accumulating for, 269 days and then having to wait another 872 days before anything happens. So buying on the way down is not the answer here. Here's what you want to look for. You want to look for bullish or bearish divergences. And these are key reversal signals of what's about to happen as momentum shifts from bullish to bearish. So when we're in a downtrend, what I like to look for is bullish divergences. Now, bullish divergence is very simple. It's when the price chart for XRP were to make a lower low and the key indicator, like the relative strength index in red right here, makes a higher low. And until I see that, I don't enter in. And even when I see a bullish divergence, I still don't enter in until I see a trend reversal and clearing of a previous resistance after a downtrend. Because if I were to give you an example going all the way back here, from the 3rd of October of 2024, when XRP was at 50 cents, and made lower lows until about 49 cents, look at what happened on the relative strength index. We bottomed out right here at about 19 on the 3rd of October. And on this low, on the 26th of October, when the price chart made a lower low, the RSI made a higher low. And all the way until the 3rd of November, the RSI continued to make higher lows while the price chart made lower lows. This is bullish divergence. Price chart makes a lower low, RSI makes a higher low. And if you guys remember correctly, I was making videos around this time frame talking about a final sell-off for XRP around November of 2024 before a reversal to the upside. And here's what I said. The likelihood in the short term is in favor of the bears for a break to the downside below this support right here. On the daily, we are in a downtrend on the stochastic RSI. We confirmed a bearish cross above 80. Also right here on the weekly, we confirmed a bearish cross right here on the 30th of September. And so the K line is at 4, the D line is at 26. We're in a downtrend favoring the bears right now. So this would strengthen a midterm pullback as well too. For XRP, as we went from orange to yellow to break all the way down here, potentially wick off these previous levels like we saw right here, massive wick, right here, massive wick, right here, right here. It's hard to draw with this. Right here, massive wick, right here, massive wick, and then overall just massive support at this level right here. So this is roughly like 47 cents, 45, potentially all the way down to 38 cents is like worst case scenario down to these levels. This is where I would be buying more XRP and expecting a bounce from down here to then the upside as we would curve around on the weekly stochastic RSI, on the daily stochastic RSI, potentially form a bullish cross. That's what I'd be looking for to enter into more XRP. Now, and if you look right here, that is exactly what happened. XRP pulled back within this range. The stochastic RSI reset. We saw a bullish cross. And then about a few weeks later, we erupted to the upside and absolutely exploded from 47, 48 cents all the way up here to $2.89. So just using the stochastic RSI is a great tool, but what I like to look for as well is divergences. And so if we were to zoom in from the weekly chart to the 1 hour chart here, and we look at the price chart, we can see it making lower lows, but we can see the relative strength index right here on the 3rd of October bottomed out and started to make higher lows, which is the first sign of a major reversal. But you don't necessarily just enter in when you start to see this divergence, you wait for a trend change. So this eruption to the upside right here in consolidation was a major trend change. Even right here on this breakout and this back test for XRP. Now, further confirmation would be, breaking of key levels of resistance, which was, about 52 cents back to the upside, holding on top of it as support right here before we trended higher. And then we saw a massive reversal to the upside. So right now, what we're looking for on XRP's price chart is something similar to play out. We would want to see a lower low on the price chart and higher lows on the relative strength index. So we're not seeing that happen right now. We're seeing a lower low on the RSI and a potential lower low being set up right here on XRP's price chart. So that's where the next support would be down at $2.55 to $2.60-ish cents. And if we bring up the stochastic RSI as well too, we're at 14 and 4 for the K line and the D line. We haven't experienced a bullish cross yet, which shows there's more momentum to the downside closer to 0, while the RSI comes a little bit lower, the price chart comes a little bit lower to eventually form a lower low, and then we would need to see the RSI setting up some type of bullish divergence. And then what we want to look for is a trend reversal and a break of structure before we see a move to the upside. That's what we then want to look for. Otherwise, it just makes sense to be patient here. And I know that's not what you want to hear, because everyone's like, I should buy a bunch of XRP and accumulate. Well, yeah, I mean, you could and then hold long term and it should do well long term. But if you want to get better entry points, keep listening to what I'm going to share with you, because this type of information is how you separate yourself from the masses that buy the peaks. Because we made this post on Twitter saying we just can't take it anymore. Ripple founders, Brad Garlinghouse, Chris Larson keep dumping XRP on retail. It's so bad. It's so terrible that if you put $1,000 into XRP in 2022, it would only be worth over $800,000 today. That's not even enough to break even. It's not even enough to afford lunch. You will be homeless on the street with $700,000 in profit. So they need to stop making everyone so rich, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to retire so early here. When in doubt, zoom out. This is the biggest argument people say, that they're dumping on retail. Jeff Bezos dumps on retail. Bill Gates dumps on retail. Elon Musk dumps his stock on retail. Selling is part of taking profits. If you're just going to hold something forever, you're an idiot, okay? The founders sell, and selling has not impacted the long-term price action of utility-driven projects. As you can see, XRP is up 46,000% all. And yes, in the short term, it might be down a little bit, but that's the day-to-day. So you lose sight of the forest through the trees. Up 1,100%, so the bear market lows to the high, and down 25% in the short term. And so that's perspective. The people that are complaining are the people that bought these peaks and that are down because they didn't listen to what I'm sharing in these videos. And if we look at Bitcoin's price chart, does that mean that Bitcoin's a better buy right now? Well, when the tides rise, so do all ships. And when the tides retreat, so do all ships most of the time. So in our previous call on the accelerator program right here under Classroom, accelerator program, you can check out the replays in Altcoin Pro. If you're not in the accelerator program, you can't get access to these replays right here. And I'm not going to even guarantee that we're going to open the door because we're only coaching 30 people at a time right now. So there's thousands of people that watch these videos, and we only have 30 in our accelerator program because you guys would be shocked at how many people actually take action with information. That's why the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the rich list for XRP is a lot less than you think to get it a part of the top 10%. It's only 2,500 to jump into 10 to 5%. Anything over 10,000, you're part of the top 5%. And the vast majority of people don't even hold one XRP, let alone any crypto. So when we look at Bitcoin's price chart, we're in a downtrend. You can see right here that we're in this falling wedge for Bitcoin. And so we want to look for the same thing. We want to look for a bullish divergence setup where the price chart makes lower lows. And so if we just connect the lows right here for Bitcoin, we can see that Bitcoin is making lower lows and the RSI is actually making higher lows. So this is pretty good news for Bitcoin that a bounce could be coming relatively soon, but we need to wait for a change of structure, a breaking of resistance, which would be roughly, $109,000 to $110,000 right around here. This is what I would want to see. Otherwise, the selling pressure to the downside is going to be there, and Bitcoin could either range sideways or continue down in the short term until we break this key resistance and hold it as support. Until something like this happens, then you just patiently wait. You sit there and you just watch, and you don't enter into any positions until we see this type of move happen. Plus, if we were to bring up the stochastic RSI for Bitcoin as well, you can see that we are at 78 and 72 right here. So we could see a bounce for Bitcoin, but wait for this bounce. Wait for a bounce and a retest of this key zone right here. Because if this doesn't happen and we don't see that bounce and Bitcoin just gets rejected from this resistance right here and trades further to the downside or ranges sideways, we're still going to be in a downtrend forming lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower low, lower high. This would just inevitably be another lower high. So until we make a higher high and a higher low, we're going to remain in the downtrend. To see a trend reversal and for Bitcoin to start breaking to the upside, we first need to see that higher high than this previous high of about $110,000 come in. Otherwise, price action is just going to slowly go sideways or bleed to the downside until this divergence is done playing out, and then we wait for a trend reversal back to the upside like we've seen these past few times for Bitcoin. So we're going through this type of phase right here where it's just a washing machine until we find the low. And then we look for major trend structure shifts, right? So here's another example for you guys to truly understand what we're looking at here, right? We see lower low right here. So Bitcoin's just forming lower lows since the 28th of February, even before then, but the relative strength index right here bottomed out at 17 and then forms a higher low at this lowest low. But we're still in a downtrend until we cleared this high right here. Once we cleared this high and we showed some strength up here, then this was a major reversal for Bitcoin to then go higher. So we need something like this to take place. And if I were to trace it up on the price chart for you guys in terms of a bars pattern right here to show you how these patterns tend to play out, we go through a downtrend for a period of time until we clear major resistance and we hold it as support. So the first stop would be roughly $110,000. The next stop would be $113,000. If we clear it and hold it like this as support, this would be the strength that I'd ultimately want to see for Bitcoin to inevitably pass its all-time high and go back into price discovery before we see the next consolidation. Because this whole bull run cycle, what we've been seeing for Bitcoin and the rest of the market is this whole stair stepper like price action where we find a bottom, we break out, and then we consolidate for about 200 days. We break out, we consolidate for about 200 days. We break out, we consolidate for about 200 days. We break out, we consolidate for what? How long? Roughly, 200 days. If we were to measure it from here, it's about 190, 200 days. This consolidation phase right here was about 240 days. This consolidation phase right here, about 160 to 270 days once we finally broke out. And now this consolidation phase right now, if this goes to 200 days, it'd be till February of 2026. Maybe it's quicker than that. Maybe we break out 140 days in. We shall see, but we're still at a low, finding a low. So to get back to the high, it's going to take some time. And then to go into price discovery here, if we are to form a higher high for Bitcoin, it's going to be a little bit of time because we see these cup and handle formations take place time and time again to even get back to the high. And once we get back to the high, then that's when we get more aggressive as well too for a breakout with these handles. And what I mean by a handle is when you see the bottom come in, we get back to the high and then we form this little handle a lot of the times at the previous high. This is what we then want to look for once we finally start working our way through this range right here back to this high. A potential handle. It doesn't need to always happen this way, but it helps before we see the next break to the upside. So until this potential cup and handle forms in the future, we don't even need to be thinking about that until we see a bullish divergence on the price chart where we see lower lows on the price chart, and then on the relative strength index, we see some higher lows being formed, and that's not happening right now. So in terms of accumulating, patience is your best friend right now. And any of these projects right now, they're all going to be down together. So if XRP is selling off, then I would expect Total 2 to do the same thing. If we're looking at Total 2 on the daily right now, we can see that we're coming back down to backtest previous levels that we were at right here on the 19th of August. And so if we hold this level right here, we need to see a bounce off of this. Otherwise, there's massive weakness in altcoins right now. And the supports to the next level are all the way down here at $1.4 trillion, even all the way down to $1.3 trillion. So at some point, we need to see a major bounce to the upside for altcoins in a change in trend from this descending resistance right here to then consolidate before we go higher and hold some type of ascending support. But because if that doesn't happen, and we're also not seeing any type of bullish divergence on more micro time frames like the hour or the 15-minute, then we're going to remain in bearish territory with lower highs and lower lows. Because look at this, we're just forming lower highs and ultimately, coming back down to this level right here is what I look for. We just broke below this key level of support. And so the next stop is $1.5 trillion, knocking off another, $20 to $200 billion. And then I would look for the RSI to be forming a bullish divergence. So we can see that since this low right here will potentially form another lower low on Total 2 and just washing machine around through here until we form a lower low. And then the relative strength index, washing machines around before we break structure. And then we need to clear a key resistance, which would be about $1.58 trillion, and then do something like this to see some aggressive buying action. Until then, we're just looking for where this low is going to be, and then we wait for this major breakout and holding on top of a key level, depending on if we make a recovery in the short term, where we'll draw the new levels of resistance in the future. So until then, price action to the downside is likely, bearish momentum is likely, and you have to be emotionally indifferent about it. If you hold altcoins right now, is now the time to sell? Well, not necessarily, no, because you don't want to be selling when we're close to oversold conditions. And I'm not going to tell you to buy or sell anything because, like I just said, these videos are purely for educational, informational purposes only. I'm just sharing with you what I see on the chart. Okay, so take it with it what you will and be indifferent about it. Use logic here, use reason. Don't just use some hyped up announcement about some project launches or whatever it may be without looking at the chart. For example, World Liberty Fi, Trump's project, look at it. It's tanking right now. People are selling it off. Had you just joined and bought in here with the hype at 38 cents without looking at this chart, just simple quick check at this chart, looking at the relative strength index, we're up here at 89 on the hourly. Terrible time to buy. You would have been buying the peak right here. If you didn't look for any type of divergence on more micro time frames as well, on the opposite side of the spectrum for bearish divergences, then you would have gotten absolutely wrecked. And this is very easy to see once you become adept and trained in the dark arts of technical analysis here, and you can spot this right out the jump. For example, looking at the relative strength index, it's very easy to see price chart making higher highs right here, the RSI making a lower high bearish divergence, right? And then when we break structure, we break this ascending support, it's massive selling to the downside. And sometimes we see retracements, where we sell off like this, we break trend, then we retrace back up for a lower high, and we just kind of washing machine around on top of a support like this before we then break support, retrace back up, and then sell off to the downside. It looks different each time. But a lot of the other times, the insiders just dump on everyone and we don't even retrace. We just sell off, hold base right here, and then sell off even further, and then attempt to make a recovery and a retracement a little later before we sell off even further. So right now, a lot of people are asking, is now the right time to buy World Liberty Fi? Well, my answer would be, well, are we going through a bullish divergence? Are you seeing price chart make lower lows and the RSI make higher lows, signaling a potential reversal is coming? If the answer is no, then you wait. you just be patient here. You don't need to catch every single bottom because then you're trying to catch a falling knife here. You need to understand how to trade these markets based on these trends because we're just going through this downtrend here and we're not seeing any buying pressure step in to clear previous highs and previous resistance levels. We're just seeing lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows until we see some type of higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and some type of strength here. We're just going to continue selling off to the downside. So then what I would want to look for, if I clear the chart here, is I would want to look for lower lows on the price chart and some type of higher lows on the RSI. That hasn't been happening. We've been forming lower lows on the RSI. So I would want to see from this point right here at 24, some type of higher lows being formed like this on the relative strength index, while the price chart experiences lower lows like this. And then I want to wait for a trend change and resistance breaks and holding on top of support like that. This is what I want to see while the RSI forms higher lows and the price chart is formed lower lows. I wait for reversals. Otherwise, you're just catching a falling knife and you're getting dumped on by insiders thinking that you're getting a good deal right here. You buy in and we make a short-term low recovery. You're like, whoa, we're recovering. We're going higher, but it's just a lower high. And then it gets rejected and it sells off even lower and bleeds out until it flatlines somewhere down here and it's dead for a little while, little attempted recoveries, and then finally we make a recovery boost when total 2 starts to make a bounce and when Bitcoin finally starts breaking out. That's really what we're waiting for. So if you're wondering about World Liberty Fi, well, you're a little late to the party here. You know, you would have had to been one of the insiders getting in somewhere beneath $5 billion launch because all of those people, you know, when it launched, just dumped on everyone's head. It got bought up again, and now they're dumping on everyone's head again. So that's why I like to stay clear of these projects. I don't own any of this. And even if I did own any of this project, you know, I would say the exact same thing because I'm just sharing with you guys reason here on what's happened on the charts and what to look for based on these bullish, bearish divergences. Now, there are hidden divergences. I'm not going to cover it in this video. I think it's important to have a level of realism with your investing strategy so you're not just buying based on hopium or also planning on selling based on price targets, because if you're waiting to sell based on a price target and you're like, I'm only going to sell XRP when it goes to $100, you might be waiting a decade for that. You know, we need to look at macro market conditions. And going back to the beginning of this video on how many XRP it takes to become a millionaire, well, you can just run some quick math at current prices and you take the $1 million, divide that by $2.77, so 74 cents divided by 2.74. And yeah, currently you need 364,000 XRP to become a millionaire. You need to be a part of the 0.1%. So no, that's not, you know, the purpose of this video is to tell you, you need that much XRP based on current price. It's about where XRP could potentially go and how much you would need then. Well, it depends on your time frame, right? And I know people hate to hear the "it depends" because people just want a definitive, direct answer. And it really does depend, though, because how long will it take before we see the adoption of XRP on a global scale? And where will it put it in the long term? If we do a Fibonacci retracement from the previous high to the low of 4.236 is $13.6. Now, if XRP makes it to $13.6 this bull run cycle, just take $1 million and divide that by 13.6, it would take 73,000 XRP. If XRP makes it to $30, you take $1 million, you divide that by $30, that's 33,000 XRP. If XRP makes it eventually at some point, I think it's inevitable for XRP to make it to $100 or higher. It's just going to take some time. It's like Amazon stock. I mean, if you pull up and you look at AMZN stock, look at Amazon's chart right here. This is essentially what's going to happen for XRP. It's just going to take some time. Look at how long it took for Amazon to break out from this high right here. It took about 3,800 days. Once it broke out, it's going through a similar pattern that XRP is going through right now. And if I were to just put it up side by side with XRP, this is exactly what's happening right now with this consolidation phase. It's just a massive cup and handle. Look at this. We're right at the previous high. Look at what happened with Amazon back here in the year 2000. Once it broke that high, it used it as support, just like XRP is using this as support, and then absolutely exploded to the upside. And look at what happened to Amazon after that. It went from what, $5? XRP is at $2.70 right now, so not that far off. If we just now zoom out here over the macro and then zoom out here over the macro on Amazon stock, this is what I think is going to happen for XRP. And I think we are just at the forefront of it all. And you have to have some patience here, because from this 2010 to 2025, I mean, we're talking about 15 years later. It's going to take some time for XRP. But for those of you guys that are young, that are 30 years old, by the time you're 45 years old or 50 years old, you know, if XRP makes it up to these levels of $100, $200, look what Amazon went to, $5 to $200. Well, for XRP to go to $100, if you take a million, you divide that by 100, that's only 10,000 XRP. And currently, that's a part of the top 4%. So it's a lot less than you think based on a long-term perspective. But in terms of a short-term perspective, do I think XRP will make it to $100 this cycle? I don't know, man. That'd be absolutely insane. I'm thinking anywhere between $5 to $30 this cycle. Then we go into some type of crash, and then we see true adoption. And by 2030, we see the real appreciation. Or maybe it does happen faster than we think, and we see this 2017 rally happen again and liquidity get injected fast. As we've seen before, how quickly liquidity can get injected, I would not be surprised if XRP does some insane giga rally towards the tail end of this year with ISO stuff and them flipping the switch. I would not be shocked at all, and that's what a lot of people are preparing for. So price targets, you just can't prepare for that. I mean, how would you know that XRP is going to go to $2.60, you know, from 0.005? You just wouldn't have known. You just had to buy, hold, back up the truck, and just sit patiently and wait, while also understanding how to do your own research. And also click the link in the description below. Go through the Technical Analysis Essentials course right here if you actually want to know how to be self-sufficient in these markets. This is absolutely incredible. This is the best starting point if you're a beginner. And even if you're intermediate and you want to brush up on your skills to eventually become a professional, this is the best place to start. And our research team is on the ball nonstop here with top altcoin picks, crypto news, airdrop picks, DeFi yield picks inside of Altcoin Pro. And our research team, guys, they have called some of the best projects and the best trades over the past few years. And had you been one of our community members, you could have caught some of the biggest trades of your life. For example, our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1, 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University through the link below. And although we make no guarantees because crypto is definitely risky, guys, this is only $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want to save $194, getting 2 months for free and unlock some exclusive bonuses, just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now. Watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers to help you become the first millionaire in your family tree, if that's a goal of yours. And you can get started through the link in the description below right now, or you can go to bullrunners.com to take advantage of the bonuses we're giving you before they expire. Everyone is loving the community. They're loving the education. They're getting access to real-time altcoin picks first before we ever make videos about them. So click the link in the description below, watch the video, and I'll see you on the inside.